Let's see here. Gotta admit people. Looks like disable awaiting
Hello.
room. Hey, how's it going? How you
But
doing?
what?
Let's see. Take notes. No, don't need to take notes. All these new features with Zoom. Okay, there we go. It like takes notes
Hello.
automatically. Hey, how's it going? Looks like you're blurry.
Okay, let me clean up a little bit. And not looks like it's not an issue, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's
much
better.
better.
Yeah, like a filter. How you been?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
How are things in Vancouver?
You know, yesterday was nice weather, today pretty rainy, as usual, you know.
Yeah, yeah, hit or miss. Yeah,
Typical Vancouver.
yeah. It actually
Yeah,
rained here too. Kind of rare at times, but um, yeah. Um, I think I mentioned this to a few people, but I'm trying to make sure that I mention this again. Next month and May, no, just May. We're not doing a meetup because I will be traveling to. Well, I leave for Mexico in 2 weeks, 1 week, and then I'll be back late April, and then I'm leaving again to go to Australia and then Fiji. So
oh,
I'm not gonna try to do
yeah,
this.
okay.
But yeah, should be fun. I think I've told a few people as well that I started a new job in December, working with a company that doesn't happen to do anything Drupal, but I'll keep doing this stuff because I've been doing Drupal stuff for almost 18 years. Wow, it's almost an adult.
Yeah, it's mean
Wow.
we so old, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
recently I just had a look to my Drupal profile and yeah, the same 18 years old and some kind months. And I thought, oh, I am so freaking cold.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think it's good for folks like us that have been around to still be around in the Drupal community, but also to try to help invite some of the younger folks in. So, for example, the IXP initiative, the Inexperience initiative, trying to bring in
Hmm.
younger folks, especially students, and also I think Drupal in a Day. These are really good initiatives that I've seen um, get a lot of traction. Drupal in a Day was fully funded for DrupalCon. I'm really eager to hear from Nikki from Lullabot how that went, and a few other folks that made that work. Um, there's also the Pacific Northwest Drupal Summit. We got a venue and a date. So if you're
Hmm.
in this general area, you really should try to make plans to come if you can. It's on the weekend, so hopefully that should be accessible for folks who work during the week. It's on the 17th and 18th of October, and it is at BCIT's campus. I took a look at a few venues with the help of our committee, and we looked at UBC, University of British Columbia, SFU, Simon Fraser University, and BCIT, which is kind of like British Columbia's version of MIT. And yeah, the latter one worked out. So my hope is that we can not only promote it within our community, but also promote it within the student kind of community, whether it's BCIT or more abroad, to say, hey, if you want to learn Drupal or related open source technologies, there's a lot of very knowledgeable folks who are going to present. Um, I think, and we have a meeting tomorrow. If you're interested in coming, there's
Hmm.
a Slack channel called Pacific. There's PNW Drupal Summit, we'll announce the Zoom link there. I think Andrew you already saw it.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I replied.
but yeah, Ryan should send out a link for that. It's tomorrow, probably. I think at 7. I think is what it said. Yep, 7 Pacific.
Yeah, so 7 p.m.
I believe, and Heather may be able to confirm this, we were targeting May for the opening of the call for papers. In other words, submit your session. So if you haven't done a session in a while, you want to practice, especially if you want to just kind of like try some stuff out, this is a great opportunity, and it will be in Canada this year.
Yeah, especially for me, practice more English, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I think live demos and playing around with AI and you know my favorite strategy, all those sort of things. But my wife and I will probably come down, stay there for a few days, and I'm just happy that we were able to successfully get it into Canada again. The last time it was in Canada was 2017, and that was my first time in British Columbia.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Uh, Will, is this your first time on our meetup?
I think it's the second,
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
I'm based in Seattle.
Okay.
I've actually spoken at the summit before, so it's a lot of fun. Encourage
Yeah.
everyone to join in. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, happy to have you again. And I think there was one other person that said that they were going to come, so we'll see. But yeah, I think I set a very loose topic. A lot of times, if people have topics that they want to talk about, I want to really try to open the floor for that sort of thing. But since DrupalCon did just happen, I did at least kind of nudge and say, obviously, if people have gone or you have thoughts about doing something related to DrupalCon in the future, this might be a good opportunity since it's kind of fresh in the head.
Did anyone
Yeah,
go?
I did not. I helped with it, but
You did?
I didn't go.
Yeah, I didn't go either.
I didn't want to cross the border yet again.
Pretty much.
I sent link to this is Slack channel, PNW Drupal Summit.
uh, which one? Oh, the
Uh,
summit.
yeah, for the summit, yeah, where we have this is message about tomorrow
Yeah,
meeting. Yeah,
yeah.
I just
There's
sent it.
there's a good number of folks there. I was gonna try to take point with organizing things, um, but that was when I was working part time, not full time. So I do want to at least be
Tell
fair
me
with
about it.
with my time. It is a bit of work, but if you are able to help, please do help. There are a lot of roles that we need to fill, and if you're in Vancouver, all the better. That really helps us. I may try to go to Vancouver to get some like photos and video of the BCIT Tech Collider. There's already a video that they did for it, but I at least want to try to get some stuff for our website to help promote the summit and things like that. So I might.
Which campus is it in? Is it in downtown? The downtown campus?
Yeah, good question. So if you know where the convention center is, it's really close to the convention center. So like Yaletown, and it's basically where most um, conferences end up occurring. I did try to price out the convention center. I think it was either the catering or something else that was a little bit more expensive, or maybe it was the availability. This was the only venue that was available the weekends. Others kind of either were on the weekdays or overlapped the weekend, so we were a little maybe on that.
That's fair. Just curious because I know they have campuses around the city. So.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing with SFU and UBC. Like most colleges or universities, they have multiple campuses, but we wanted to make it accessible for folks that were flying in or driving in, so that way it's a little bit more central, and also have lots of choices for restaurants and bars and other social activities.
Did you? I was trying to catch up because I've been absent from Slack for quite a while right now, and I saw there's mentions of DrupalCon as well for next year, I think.
Drupal can like Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there are two concurrent things going on right now. One is there's the beginning of the Drupal Canada Association. This isn't to usurp or replace the main Drupal association, but rather to have a presence in Canada that's dedicated to, Canadian people, Canadian activities, that sort of thing. There's currently like you can literally go to the website drupalcan.com. There's talk about doing a DrupalCon in Canada next year. This is in its infancy. I don't think that it will be like a several thousand people sort of event, but I have no idea.
Sounded like it was gonna be a complementary event because they're not doing the whole conference here. That's still, I think they said that's still happening in Florida.
Yeah, I think so Orlando is certain. I mean that's decided. If anything, I know that the Drupal Association oftentimes will look at and try to book things way in advance because there's a lot of price breaks and there's a lot of planning that you really can get ahead of when it comes to planning DrupalCon that far out. In fact, a few years ago, they announced like I think 3 or 4 years of DrupalCon all at once, which was nice because then a lot of companies could like plan around that. But they only did it that one time. Now it's just like every DrupalCon they announce the next year. I know a lot of the folks from Florida. I understand why there's a big appeal for that because there's a large constituent of folks that support Drupal in that area. So I think it's still very appropriate for people to consider moving it around. I wish North America meant more than just the United States, if I'm going to be a little bit selfish. But I also think that it's important that this new Drupal Canada Association also kind of lead the charge and say, you know what, let's do something on our own. I think there's something in Ottawa this year, and I think it was
It's the Ottawa DrupalCon, or forgot if it's a DrupalCon or a Summit.
Usually in Ottawa,
Toronto.
in Montreal, Involving Web promotes something conference or something meetup. Usually they pretty active in this field.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for
in
sure.
Ottawa and Montreal.
I know Evolving Web does a whole lot. They kind of have multiple events per year. They also, I think, have a kind of a supporting role in this, but they're not, the main players. It's a group of folks who originally had a nonprofit in Canada that kind of recycled it and basically renamed it Drupal Canada Association or something like that. I don't know if any other folks in the area, Vancouver area, went to DrupalCon this year. So I don't know, but I hear it was good. I didn't hear anything about the 25-year celebration or anything like that. But I've been to several DrupalCons. It's usually really fun.
Yeah, I only saw a couple photos on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That it's
Yeah, I think
DrupalCanada.org, yeah, or something like this website.
DrupalCan.com is the site that they were sharing. but there's also a learn more that goes to the Drupal Camp Ottawa, like was in the chat here.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, there are actually two channels in Slack. There's the Drupal-Canada channel, and that's the public channel where a lot of people are talking about things that are specifically focused on Canada. You'll probably see at least the last photo at the very end where we had a bunch of stickers that apparently disappeared. They were playing around with the logo for a while, where at first it was like a red drop, and I remember looking at that. I'm like, that looks like a blood drop. That's not necessarily a good thing. So
And if
I'm
you
glad that they
are,
went with a red leaf with a white drop in the middle. That was a lot more tasteful.
yeah,
There is also a private channel for the Drupal Canada Association. I don't know if they're going to end up making it public. I don't know if it's deliberately private, but there are like about 20 people in there. I think it's because it's at its infancy right now. There are a few people from various agencies in Canada that are in there. So I think it's really kind of like baby steps right now to see what it is that we want to do, what we can do. But I'm really glad to see that it started. There is, I think they said that there's a meeting for that coming up soon, but I'm not sure. So anyway, I guess maybe kind of just piggybacking off of that, we can always talk about more about DrupalCon as a whole. Like, what do you like about it? What would you like to see in future versions? But also maybe kind of like a parallel question: what would you like to see in a Canada-specific Drupal conference?
Be honestly, I just for that time just would like to attend.
Yeah,
yeah.
Don't have any expectation, you know.
yeah, yeah.
To be honest, even just seeing other Drupal people would be nice. So
Yeah, just handshake, you know.
that
Yeah.
alone would make me happy as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, you know, we can, as a result, we can organize some kind of offline meeting, at least, I don't know, once per month or once, something like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, yeah, I tried, but not successful.
Yeah, Brentwood was a bit far from me, sorry.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people told me about this one. Okay.
It's fine.
The
It's usually the case.
yeah
Yeah,
the
I think you touched what I would want to see from DrupalCon chat, like somewhere else other than the US would be nice. I would
yeah
even like, I wouldn't mind going to Mexico either.
yeah yeah for sure. I think the label DrupalCon North America implies that it exists outside of the U.S. at times. I don't know
You
if it
would think
ever has.
no,
Um,
it never happened outside the US.
as long as I've been going, it hasn't, and as far as I'm aware, it hasn't. But I think that what we're doing is at least saying we're not asking permission. We're simply leveraging what we can. I mean,
Yeah.
DrupalCon Europe and India, and I think now also Japan. Um, you know, the brand can be leveraged for those sort of events if they need to be, which was something that they started several years ago to kind of really just have some unity. So it'll be interesting to see that. But I think the other argument is there are a far greater number of people who are in the US who either don't have a passport or don't want to leave the US than there is the other way, like people in Mexico and Canada who can go to the US. That's what I've been told so many times. And I understand that argument. I don't agree with the argument, but I understand it.
And if I
And
want to go to DrupalCon, I'll still go and make a passport.
yeah,
If I can't do it, other people can too.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You just remind me one funny situation. I had conversation with local guys, I mean Canadian, and we spoke about some kinds of traveling, etc. And I told them that you can go everywhere. You have like a nice passport, and yeah. And they answered to me the issue that they don't have this passport, and I was quite surprised because in our country it's like you born, you're 16, and you have to have
Yeah.
passport. This is
All right.
mandatory, yeah. And for me it was some quite confusing
good.
me, yeah, because yeah, usually
Yes.
here in Canada you enough driver license and that's enough, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that
quite
makes sense.
interesting.
Well, I think my passport expires next year, so I've got to do something with that.
Yeah,
Thing
you
is
need to
because
take
in
photo
Europe,
first of all, yeah.
thing is
Um,
because in Europe our distances are so small, it's incomprehensible not to cross into
Yeah.
another country at some point or another.
But my wife and I actually just put in our application for Canadian citizenship, so hopefully
No, congrats.
that gets things moving
Mm,
along.
nice, yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a Canadian passport, to be honest. So
It does not smell like maple syrup. I was disappointed.
I mean, you can always pour maple syrup on your passport if you want. I'm kind of curious. Have either of you gone to DrupalCon before?
I've been to two.
Which
Yeah,
ones did you go
I've
to?
been to I've been to the Portland one and the Atlanta one. So the previous two.
Yeah, yeah.
I only attend to some kind, it's not conference, it was, I think, maybe session or meetings. I still don't know the difference. In Australia and in Moldova a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah. Moldova, Australia, and Ukraine, one times in Ukraine.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. How about you, Will?
But
Have
it
you?
was, yeah, usually a local one conference. And for us, it was some kind, I don't know, celebration, something like this, when somebody came. I mean, in Ukraine, Moldova, somebody came from Europe or other speaking English speaking country. Oh, it was, so nice.
Yeah, I went to the Seattle one when it was here in my hometown, so it was pretty easy. And other than that, I've only just been to the Pacific Northwest summits in all three cities.
Okay.
I'm independent, so I have to pay for my own way to go to these things, and so I didn't really feel like doing it in, Chicago or wherever, Atlanta, so on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's quite a trek for a conference.
Especially if you're
Yeah.
self-funding it. They're not cheap, right? This
No,
yeah.
that's why for Seattle, I mean, I was willing to pay the whatever it was $700 fee because I didn't have to pay for hotels.
Yeah.
Whereas that's different in other cities.
It's about the same.
Yeah, for this case, it's going to can be quite expensive, right? Fee, this is attendant fee, then couple nights in hotels, yeah, and it's not so
That's up.
cheap at all, yeah.
Yeah. And then I heard a lot of people complaining about the cost of the 25th anniversary gala in Chicago.
Yeah, that
But I
was.
haven't heard any actually feedback of how it actually was, whether it was any fun or not. I know there's some complaints that there weren't the extra parties that a lot of the big companies sponsor because instead they put their money into the gala.
Oh, like a Pantheon or Lullabot or
No, there wasn't
Acquia.
a Pantheon party.
No.
It's a shame.
Oh, weird.
That's the only thing I like about Pantheon.
You and a lot of people. Apparently, they had a big outage today.
They still do.
Really?
Oh. Well, if you've got sights on them, that might be you. Eric, I see you're on the phone. I'm not sure if you can speak, but if so, what DrupalCons have you gone to?
I've mostly just the Portland ones, I guess. Um, I'm probably not going to go to the Orlando one.
Yeah, I think I'll be
But
skipping
the
next
gala
year's.
was fun.
Yeah. What was the gala like?
It was very loud and overwhelming, but it was fun to dress up. I left like after an hour to go to karaoke because like the more people drank and the longer the night, it got louder and louder and louder and
Oh
like
yeah.
crazier. So I was like, I can't do this. My brain can't handle any of this. So I'm gonna go watch people do karaoke.
If people are going to be
Man
loud, they
after
better
my
be
own
singing.
heart. Yeah, why not?
That's awesome. Well,
I
glad
support that.
that you got to enjoy a part of it. Um, so since you've all been to DrupalCon, I'm kind of curious, like, what for you personally, what's the biggest motivator for you to go to DrupalCon? I know you all kind of have your different situations, but what's the biggest motivator for you to go if you're deciding to go?
Updating my t-shirt wardrobe. Only half joke. Yeah, for me that for the longest time it was actually go to DrupalCon because I had never been, and then going to the first
Check it
one
off the list.
was nice. So the second one followed. Then other things happened that prevented us from going to the third one, but let's not get into those. But yeah, it's always nice to see be into the community, basically.
Yeah.
Like I think I would go for all the people and the fun that they're having outside of the sessions more than for the sessions themselves.
I, I'll be honest. I share that perspective. It was more networking for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. The networking is incredible, and you get to put a lot of faces to names that you see online and voices to names. But I found that the sessions were really good because it's if you need to come up to speed fast in Drupal, it's a great way to put your mouth on the fire hose and try to drink it all in.
Yeah.
And people are super friendly. I mean, that the saying of come for the code, stay for the community really is true. And I think that's been most true at the DrupalCons, where it's just everyone is super welcoming, no matter your experience, whether you've been there for 20 years or you're just showing up for the first time.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. How about you, Andrew?
I don't know what I can say. Yeah, just would like to attend, see other people, maybe make new connections, something like this.
Makes sense. Eric, anything special, or is it just go for the people?
No, you know me. It's all just the community and the people. I love the Drupal community, and this time was especially special because like I work for a university, and I just love the educational place. But I helped out with the Drupal in a day and helped Quasi give out the like diplomas or certificates or whatever at the end, and just seeing the look on these kids like faces, they're like, "Thank you so much," and they're so excited to get this thing. And I was just like, I just love interacting um, with the people there. It's fantastic.
That's also good feedback about Drupal in a day. I'm happy that it had that sort of success. We've had a few things like that in the past, um, and I really like to see people who are either students or coming from like a, a less fortunate place having an opportunity. I feel like it. I feel like people originally started with open source because it's so accessible, you could just go in there and play around, and especially if you're playing around, on your own computer, it doesn't really matter if you break it. You can just start over. But this willingness to experiment is kind of like a part of our culture. But bringing a younger generation into that and saying, "Hey, these things exist," um, is really really special. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Since
it was really great. There were maybe 50 to 55 people at 73 signed up, so it was pretty great. And Dries came down and did a little talk and took a picture with everybody, and you know, it was really nice.
Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like the first time contributor um, workshops that they would sometimes do, but even more specific. So in terms of DrupalCon, a lot of times I like to talk to people about like their experience there and what brought them there and what they love, and I hear a lot of the same things that you're saying, um, but kind of flipping it around. Like I always think there's room for improvement, especially if you've gone, you kind of know what to expect. If you've gone several times, you know how that can change over time, how it ebbs and flows. But if you had a magic wand to change something about DrupalCon next year, what would you want to see different to make it even more appealing for you and other people?
I mean, the most annoying thing I can think of is when you have multiple sessions that you want to attend to at the same time, but I don't know how you fix that.
Well, thankfully you have session recordings. Usually, I
Yeah.
tell first timers to prioritize going to Birds of a Feather sessions because those aren't recorded.
Yeah.
But there is also the benefit of if you go to a session, you can ask questions and meet the person
Yeah,
presenting, which is really nice.
yeah, that's. And when you're on a session, it's more interesting when you watch the video. Video usually I sit up on a second speed and watch it on a second speed
Yeah.
because
And
it's
then you get distracted, and yeah.
yeah usually on a second monitors, yeah, and watching on a second speed. Yeah, when you attend in a session, it's more like you can get this knowledge in a short period of time and like a concentrate amount of knowledge, and it's pretty valuable. And more other you can ask follow-up questions and get response exactly at that moment. And that's what's, in my opinion, most interesting in the sessions when you attend in a personal sessions.
Makes sense.
And fun, of course, yeah. When you meet people, you can handshake, make some jokes, and etc. Just enjoy environment.
There's kind of a symptom that I see almost every year after DrupalCon where people get saturated with new information. They collaborate with lots of people. And, well, I guess there's two symptoms. The first, most obvious, is people have these new ideas, which is great. I love seeing people get inspired from their experience. And then you see this flood of new ideas hitting, whether it's new projects or improvements to existing things. It's a really remarkable thing to watch. You also see kind of the employment shuffle, people looking for new jobs and things.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
I think if I were to change anything about DrupalCon, um, I have to admit I've helped with session selection and planning DrupalCon for several years. So I kind of see how much effort people put into doing those sort of things. But I think prior to like the call for papers where people are submitting sessions, one thing that I'd love to see more is the community's input as to what types of sessions they want to see, and maybe have that as kind of like a leaderboard of like, here are the topics that we'd really love to see being submitted before people start making presentation submissions.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. This DrupalCon will, and listen, I'm as curious about AI as anybody, but like it was like three-quarters of the sessions were all about AI. It
Yeah,
might as well have been like AI conference, you know? It was
yeah,
wild.
it's exhausting. And I think a lot of the session selection committee ends up picking it because they think that people want to see that, or maybe that's the bulk of the submissions. But I feel like if we have some sort of thing to steer and influence what people are
I
submitting, that would be good. Like community feedback saying, hey, here's what we'd hear more of.
think if they want to do deep dives into a particular subject, they can have a dedicated track for that.
Yeah.
So at least it doesn't overtake the entire conference.
Yeah. A lot of
Like
times when we would plan sessions, we would try to make sure that we didn't have lots of concurrency. So in other words, if you're a front end developer, as an example, we don't want two or more front end specific presentations at the same time. Sometimes it's so unavoidable because you have a lot of popularity. Like site building is one of the most popular things. AI is clearly one of the more popular things and growing. So having concurrent sessions like that, it just naturally happens because you have so many. But we do put in a lot of effort to say, look, there's probably an audience that's focused a lot on project management or UX or something like that. So let's not overlap those topics.
Yeah, and you just mentioned about AI. That's another issue because before how it was, for example, if somebody has presentation, it's usually some kind mix of code base, and a mix of idea. Right now, it's some kind hard because every code you can just generate through AI, right? And it's not as valuable as it was before. And it's mean your some kind idea what you're trying to convey, and they couple to the code what you implemented, right? And right now, if you would like that your session should going to be interested for people and like convey something, you need try to hard try harder than before, because yeah, before you can, I don't know, couple slides, 10 lines code, couple slides, yeah, one more code. Right now, yeah, everybody can generate code, and it's not so simple to implement, invent some new idea, or even just convey your experience.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think AI has become such a hot topic that people, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people approach it from sometimes a place of curiosity, which is, I think, a healthy place to approach it. Sometimes it's from a place of fear, where they're afraid of it taking their job or afraid of them being worth less. Uh, I just attended an all staff meeting, and I have to be very sensitive to what I say about results of all staff meetings. But one of the things that our CEO really talked about was, look, we're using AI a lot for coding, and for all of you folks who are the developers, it seems like, okay, this is coming for your job. But the opposite is actually true. The more that we use this, the more we produce. The more we produce, the more we need people to be able to maintain this and build this stuff. So, if anything, part of our strategy is actually one of growth, not reduction, because AI exists. This is a tool. That's all it is. And understand, I respect that everybody has their opinion, but to hear that sort of statement coming from a person in leadership to give reassurance that people's jobs are secure despite AI being a tool that we're using is, I think, an important position to take. It's not one that I'm hearing a lot of in, you know, executive circles. But I digress. Anybody else have thoughts about what you'd like to see improve in DrupalCon?
It looks like not.
No.
Main idea just to attend
Yeah.
I guess for
in any
me,
type, any kind.
I haven't been to the DrupalCon in Europe, but from what I've heard, it's more tech developer friendly.
Yeah.
And the 2 times I went to North America, the sessions were more or less very markety, let's say.
That makes sense.
So I guess more tech-friendly sessions would be nice.
I think this year it's in Rotterdam. It's a few weeks before the summit, and we very much scheduled that with in mind. We didn't want to overlap too heavily the weeks before or after that. But I've heard, yeah, I've definitely heard that same thing, Pavlos. Is I think the European one is a little bit more developer heavy, and I always put Drupal on the table as a solution for especially our international world because it has lots of tools baked into it to accommodate non-English speaking audiences or diverse audiences, and I think that's been one of its steadfast strengths over the past couple decades now. All right. Well, I know I posted in our channel that I might actually end up cutting this one short. So maybe in 15 minutes we drop if you want. But this is your venue just as much as it is anybody else's. Is there anything Drupal related that you wanted to talk about today?
Anyone going to the couple dev days in Montreal?
Yeah, yeah. When is that?
I think it's sometime in want to say July, but I'm not sure. It's like
While you look for that, I mean, I'm here lately to look for gigs. I've had one
August.
client basically lay me off last year because they had to cut their budgets.
Yeah.
And it's seeming like it's getting a little harder to find gigs because the whole industry is having issues. So if you hear of anything, let me know. Got 20 plus years experience with Drupal and full stack, so can do most anything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think so one thing, well, there's lots of things, but one thing will there's the group that Nora hosts, I think is every Monday. She calls it like the Monday Mess or something like that. It's basically folks who are looking for opportunities. If anything, it's a kind of a cathartic place to talk about the challenges of doing that. But sometimes there's some really good advice.
Where's that?
So I'm trying to think of where that would be. I think she has a group on LinkedIn. I'll see if I can pull that up. I think it's called it's the digital something.
Are you on the Seattle Drupal users group Slack
Oh yeah,
too? You said you were up in Seattle.
yeah. I'm definitely very involved with the group, and So just expanding my network, just up and down the coast and across the country or across the continent.
There it is. Digital Career Sandbox. I'm gonna post this in the chat. So yeah, she meets up every now and again. I went through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked in sales, so I know like how sales can be very challenging. I one of my friends is Brent from ImageX.
Hmm.
He's I talk to him every now and again about some of the challenges that he and his team have had. So without like necessarily paraphrasing, it's gotten more challenging across the board, whether it's Drupal or otherwise. It just has, and we can point our finger and say, well, it's because a lot of budgets have been cut, especially with things like government and healthcare and education, which are some of the biggest users of Drupal. Um, I think it's also the market conditions. Uh, just in the past few months have really dipped. I have a friend that's retired. He's just watching his money evaporate, which is really, really challenging for him. I'm certain of. But in terms of finding work, one thing that helped me, and take this how you'd like, was to actually work with a business advisor. And it takes a lot to like really kind of like swing up what makes sense. But I focused first on like what are my KPIs? What things as a freelance contractor made the most sense for me, and it really boiled down to obviously increasing my profit, but being more specific than that, I wanted to make at least 10,000 a month, month over month. Um, but to get there, I also understand that you have to have a sales pipeline. It's not just about the work you have; it's about the work that would come after that. I think that one of the most expensive and challenging things to do is to do cold calling and marketing. And personally, I don't think it's really worth it for an independent contractor. Instead, I find significantly greater value in working your network, which I'm more than certain you're doing. But one of
Wow,
the things, yeah, exactly. But one of the things that I had done as a part of that is I started basically a business tracker spreadsheet for myself to help keep track of the things that I was trying to do. The main goal for me was at least once a week have preferably an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting with someone within my network just to talk. And literally that was it. And then on top of that, if I could have at least uh, as many meetings with potential clients, then on a long enough timeline, I'm starting to accrue clients. So that was my main goal. So I'd list all the people I know. I'd reach out
Mm-hmm.
to them. I'd give preferably phone calls, like emails, texts. Like sometimes people are pretty responsible with that, but most people were responsive by phone calls. And I would just go down the list and I would just reach out to folks every single day. And I would keep track of it in this spreadsheet, like who have I been getting in touch with, how many one-to-one meetings did I actually have to kind of talk. And it wasn't so much to sell my skills; it was just literally to talk and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" So it was never a sales pitch, but sometimes it would gravitate towards the like, so what have you been up to? And I say like, here's what I'm doing as a business. It's still not a sales pitch, just saying here's what I am. And on a long enough timeline, people would kind of come in and say, hey, you should talk to so and so. They I don't know if it's anything, but you should get in touch with them. So my contact list would continue to grow. So I'm not sure if you're already doing something like that, but that really helped me because if nothing else, it gave me something to do every day that made me feel like I was moving towards the target. And it gave me metrics to see how I was tracking in that success.
Yep. All good points. Um, and I've been doing this a while, so I've been
Yeah.
through ups and downs, and she used to own an agency myself. So um, it's just an interesting time in the whole industry to see the contraction. And a lot of it, I think, is post-COVID because people
Yeah.
threw money at things at that time, and now it's the inevitable contraction.
Yeah.
So and then AI is layered on top of it, and it's A lot of people are like chickens with their heads cut off. So it's just an interesting time. And so I survived the dot-com boom. I can survive this.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it
always
can.
tell people when they bring up the .com boom is that the internet's still here. So even if there's an AI bubble and that bursts, AI will
There is.
still be here, and it's not like a zero of effort. Do you have plans to diversify beyond Drupal to see if that will net you more opportunities?
It's a great question because, and I've actually been thinking about that a little bit. I actually never thought I'd be with Drupal this long. It just kept working and it's fun. And I have great clients. But I'm always open to learning new things. And that's one of the things I love about tech is that I'm always learning new things. And you never know where it's going to take you. And so maybe as I build up my skills in the AI space, that might take me in a different direction. I don't know. I'm open to anything. So um, it's part of the fun journey that we're on.
That it is. That it is. Do you happen to know Java?
I do not. I skipped that. It's funny. I used to write in assembly of all things, but I didn't have to do the Java route, and then got into the. I got back into coding, and that would have been the late 2000s when I got back into Drupal and
Gotcha.
started coding again. So
Do you know what is it? Esteemed Chris McGrath?
the name's really familiar.
I think he's in. I could be mistaken. I think he's in Colorado, but he might also be California. I forget which. But he runs. It's not an agency. It's more of like a staffing agency, but it's very Drupal specific. Uh, that might be a lead worth pursuing. I heard something about Drupal jobs kind of getting a reboot. I don't know how true that is. I have no idea what the timeline is for that, but I know plenty of people would be interested in seeing that happen. There's Bluefly, which is a collective, so it's basically just a bunch of contractors grouped together. That's what Thomas Scola, based out of Maine. He was a Acquia person prior to their mass layoffs.
Hmm.
And Pavlos mentioned that Pantheon, among many other larger groups, are certainly hiring. I think
Pantheon.
Yep.
Really?
I saw a lot of Pantheon positions kind of pop up. One other thing, since you're already familiar with agencies, is obviously kind of doing the rotation. Pick all the agencies that you can think of that do Drupal, and then take a look at their job boards, even if they don't have an active posting. Sometimes throwing in your resume or getting in touch with someone within your network that does work there can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I would be
Okay.
shocked if ImageX is not hiring a developer position right now. That is where I used to work and
They
where my
based
wife currently works.
in USA, yeah? ImageX based on USA and in Canada.
They're in Vancouver.
Vancouver.
So ImageX Media. I know they rotate a little bit through positions that are available, but they're almost always hiring developers. Let's see.
Hmm.
That
Because I
looks
maybe
just open right now.
last month, 2 months, I had more emails and more like when recruiters through LinkedIn sent you a message, and then like a previous, I don't know, at least 1 year, and I think it's the market getting better than previous half year.
Trying to think. I used to have a running list of all the Drupal agencies that I could possibly think of. Canopy Studios is another one that's kind of local. They just merged with Chapter 3. Let's see. We mentioned Evolving Web earlier. They're very frequently hiring. I don't know anything about Four Kitchens or some of the others. Media Current is based out of Atlanta. Phase 2 is based out of Virginia. Phase 2 is actually pretty big. Yeah. What's that?
How big is phase 2?
Phase 2 Technologies, last I checked, was probably between 80 and 150 people. They're a pretty sizable organization. They originally merged with, I know they merged with, I think it was an organization called Treehouse out of, I think, New York. So there were a few acquisitions that they had, but they're big. I know a few of their developers. I know I guess it would be their CMO, or at least their marketing director. Really good folks over there. Pretty mature, and I think that's what a person wants to look for, is a mature organization to kind of bring you under the fold. Hi, Liz. Thanks for joining. We were actually just saying that we might cut it short unless anybody had anything major that you wanted to talk about.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to ask about the Drupal AI initiative, actually. My boss is pretty interested in implementing AI, and I kind of wanted to do it like in a very ethical way. And I guess like Drupal would be like the better solution, I guess. Have any of you ever had an experience using the Drupal AI?
Not myself. Anybody else?
But
I
it's
can't
still
say I
some
have
kind,
either.
yeah, necessary.
My org is still very AI averse, so I haven't had the pleasure.
Yeah, I understand.
If you
What?
talking about this AI models, they still need some kind key, etc. Because I didn't understand the question itself. I tried a couple of these models, but it's how can I say, it's wrappers under other LLMs, under other. You need to provide key. It's not like a Drupal is AI. It's Drupal just wrapper and convenient UI interface for what do you need for
Right.
content generation, for something like this. Yeah.
Are you talking about an API key?
Yeah, I guess you would need like an API key to access like the LLM. But yeah, I was asking about the modules themselves, if anyone had actually like installed them and used them with their own like keys to see how effective they were in Drupal.
I haven't yet. I just watched demos, but it's something I intend to do this week or next, is actually start playing with it.
Yeah. I tried this is one of the AI models. I forgot the name for content generation. Deploy local LLM, Alama, connected through the key through the local host, generate some content and something like this. Not nothing special.
Like not creating any blogs, any like structured content in Drupal itself.
Not, but you can create, for example, how it tested in my case. Connect to Llama, to local Llama, some topic as a prompt, and it generate for me content that but it was some kind test and dummy content. It's you can, if you have a look first time, you can definitely understand that it was generated through AI.
Yes, it depends on what you're looking for as well. Are you looking to use it more as a development helper, or are you looking to incorporate it into Drupal to help the editors with generating content?
I guess that's the unclear part, right? Like as always, we struggle to get the proper requirements as developers, right? Like we just hear the person saying, "Oh, I want put AI in the website." It's like, okay, what does that mean?
I think just a one use case that's really helpful is, and I pitched this to one of my clients, is that using AI to fill in the alt text for any image that they upload, because they're notoriously lazy about doing that and they forget that
Oh
it's
yeah.
important for accessibility.
Mhm.
So I was going to install that, and their IT department has blocked me in terms of getting the keys, but that's a use case. Another one is being able to run any text that's put in through analysis tools where it can tell you what education level that text is aimed for, and if the intended audience isn't quite the way it's written, you can get AI to massage it, and you can do that right in CK Editor. And so there are a lot of great tools like that. And then of course you can get into the more esoteric things of like writing code and things like that, or whether you hook it into ECK and starting to do all kinds of workflows. So there are all kinds of crazy things you can do now.
It's kind of the
The
working
yeah,
backwards sort of problem, though. You have a hammer and you're looking for nails. Um,
I know.
but I think with the tools that's definitely the right frame of mind. Is what problem does this solve? So when I encounter that problem, I know this is a tool that I can pull out of the tool chest. Um, so alt text, that's clearly a good one, especially for organizations that struggle with how to do that properly and need accessible conformance. Um, Other, you know, accessibility things. You mentioned readability. That's a very big one. There's the plain text, yeah, plaintext.gov website that really advocates for clear and concise language in especially government sites. But this is a reference that I always draw for anything related to content strategy, which is a maturity model thing. Like you don't start being as mature as IBM when it comes to the content of your website. You kind of have to work in that direction. So things like who's your audience, what's your voice and tone, what's your message, and then baking that into your content and making sure that you have alignment for that. Uh, but Will, you're kind of rubbing against another one of those things where it's not only about like taking a look at your content for readability, it's also to create thoughtful summaries for like you have meta tags that you can fill in. So that's really helpful for SEO and AEO, I guess. There's taxonomy as well. So this is now getting into the like, well, it depends on your website because all of our Drupal websites are very different. So you have to really think about your personal use case. But if you do have taxonomy, sometimes an AI tool can be, this stuff is not necessarily plug and play. You really have to engineer it to work in this way. But one theoretical use is to have the taxonomy kind of suggested or auto selected for you, depending on how that's constructed based on the content as you're entering it. So if we have an event site with Drupal sessions being promoted, maybe that can help tag the thing to make it easier for people to find. So there's a lot of those sort of things. I was working on something very similar for an organization based out of California that was trying to help with collecting information from parents, guardians, caregivers for like autistic kids, that sort of thing, and trying to make a connection with people who can provide services. But that's really hard as you're using intake forms and things like that. But what we did was we actually had a taxonomy that existed, and then we would take some of their intake form and automatically populate some of the taxonomy based on what they had to help route them in the right direction. And we tested it, and this is like 2-3 years ago, and it was remarkably accurate back then. So I can only imagine that things have continued to improve in that atmosphere. But I always say Like when it comes to solutions, especially with cutting edge technology, you really have to prototype it first and see what it can do before you make any commitments to leadership and stakeholders. That's really critical.
The other
Another
thing
thing
you
I
can look at is Drupal CMS, and because I think it ships with an AI recipe now, so you can take a look at how Drupal CMS sets up
Yeah.
AI and what features they've built into it, just to get ideas and inspiration.
Some turnkey stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing I'd add, Andreas, to think about is making your current site friendly to the AI bots that are scraping everything now. And you can do things that are sort of SEO squared to make your data more ingestible by the bots. And so everything from like microdata to schema, JSON LD, things like that. And so I've done a lot of work using like schema.org schemas for things like events or videos or things like that, so that you come up higher in search engine results.
Yeah, this is another level. From
Thank you so much.
A second Will's point was looking at that very recently on schema.org. Is your friend there?
And
Yeah,
sorry,
but there's
what does a schema.org does exactly?
so it's a consortium that has come up with sort of metadata about different things on the web, and it's perfect for things like if you're selling product. And so, a product is going to have, how big is it? What sizes does it come in? How many colors? Things like that, all the kind of metadata that goes around it. Or think about how a movie has what actors are in it, who's the director, who's the writer, things like that. All that stuff goes into the schema, and then the bots can ingest that stuff. And so when someone says, what movie should I watch this weekend? Your site can spit all that out to the bot, and it'll have it super easily, and it can display then you the top of the results. Now, Google uses a subset of that, and that's actually the more important audience because Google rules all. Use their tools to validate your data, because if it passes Google, then they will use it, and that's not, which isn't necessarily true for the schema.org data. I've just been doing this the last few months. And so for things like events or articles where you want to have metadata about it, like the title, the summary, the table of contents, the author, the date when it was published, things like that, all that goes into the schema, which you can then serve up to Google and the rest of the bots. So there's quite a bit you can do for SEO and what's now known as GEO to help you with those sorts of things. And by the way, if you do some of these things, then you can also start using your site more as a content hub, where you can serve out your content through APIs to other tools. And so I've got other projects where we are using Drupal as the hub, and we are feeding the data out to other tools that the companies are using to do all kinds of things where they're ingesting that data. So pretty cool stuff out there.
Nice. Thank you so much.
And I think in the spirit of good open source developers, play around with it. Like load it up on a test site that you can just completely destroy. I mean, make a copy of your existing website and see what it can do. I mean, I think that's how a lot of people end up learning a lot of not just Drupal, but really anything. But that's still the hammer that you're playing with to figure out how to use the hammer. I think it's also important, and this is me being a strategist and designer, think about what you currently have. Think about the connection that that current state has to your organization and why your organization even exists, what that technology is helping your organization with, and the audience themselves. What does your audience want? And develop some empathy and try to map that out a little bit. And once you have that picture of organization, audience, and current technical support for both of those things, then you can find some deficiencies. You don't want to get rid of the stuff that's important. So it's good to acknowledge the things that are working well, but also understand where the pain points are. And the pain points exist both for your audience, like, I can't do this task, and that's a testable thing. And it also exists for your organization. Like, this costs a lot of money to do. Can the technology help it cost less? So things like chatbots, for example, have been popping up all over the place to help people with basic like FAQ things, and they get a little abused at times, but they are still a resource to really help route people to information that they're looking for in just yet another way. Um, so I try to promote restraint when it comes to overloading your website with too much, because then you contribute to something known as cognitive fatigue. So really, as an information architect, usually I focus on what are the most important morsels of information that our audience needs, and what are the affordances that this organization decides to meet them with, and try to route them through things like thoughtful navigation, search options, taxonomy with labels that they recognize, and stuff like that. So AI isn't going to replace the necessity of that. If anything, AI should be able to help you with those things. So if you're doing a good job of mapping that stuff for your website, AI or not, that gives you a hint as to what direction you can improve, but maybe AI plays a role in that. So that's, I think, where you're not grabbing the hammer and looking for the nail. You know the hammer's there, but as you map out like what you need to build, then you know when the hammer comes in and can do a better job than other possible things.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll try to squeeze more information out of my manager
Yeah,
to see
yeah, for sure.
what what she really wants. But yeah, thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. Like, it's a big tool, right? And um, if we abuse, like, the website already has a chatbot that I built, actually. So I contributed in part to that abuse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll have to just see like what does they mean with more AI, and maybe there's no need for AI, right? Like, maybe they need better SEO and better, I don't know, meta tags or whatever.
Oh, for sure. And if you're ever worried, concerned, curious is a good neutral word, about whether or not the things that you've built are fulfilling their value proposition, because sometimes you just don't know. You have an idea and you put something in place and you hope that it's making a difference, but a lot of times we do that and we just walk away from it. Well, I think that it's good to be accountable, and sometimes people don't want to be accountable because they're scared, and I think that's fine. But I think that it takes courage to be the one that chooses to be accountable, to hold up and say, you know what, if this isn't working, I'd rather know that early. And it's not about blame. Blame is a very toxic sort of dialogue, I think, or mindset in a workplace. Instead, it's more a matter of fail early. If you're going to fail, you want to fail as early as you can before you invest any more in something. So let's take your chatbot as an example. You could use something like Hotjar. There's a free version of it, so it doesn't have to cost you anything. Install that on your website and see how people are actually doing. And it is privacy sensitive, so any information that they're entering can be scrubbed of anything that they're entering, like contact information, stuff like that. And you can look at screen recordings, you can look at heat maps, and you can even pay attention to like how people are moving through your website to see if they're actually doing what you hope they are doing. And if you find out earlier that they're not really utilizing something, that doesn't necessarily mean that the chatbot's a failure. Maybe they just aren't discovering it. Maybe it's a visibility issue, which doesn't mean make it huge. It just means maybe there's a thoughtful way to introduce them to it. So there are clever ways of navigating whether or not the changes that you're making are being impactful and actually helping people. And I think that it's really important to have that level of accountability early in any process for anything that you're building. Hotjar is an example of a tool for doing that, but take a look at things like Google Analytics, of course. But know what your routes are. Understand how people are moving from one point to another. I think a lot of times when people are trying to make an improvement, they'll look at a single page. Like, I'm just working on the blog page today, and maybe the event page comes, a few weeks from now, we're going to make some improvements to that. Your audience doesn't think of things that way. They'll go from one thing to another quite naturally. All of these things exist in their journey through your website. Hell, they may have an email newsletter that they go to. They may have a phone call with somebody. They may have a face-to-face conversation. All of these things are part of their experience as it relates to your organization, and your website's just a part of that. So understanding how they move in and out of those different touch points is another way of seeing how you can make improvements. So sometimes just sitting down and being able to map that and be thoughtful about that is helpful. But I spend a lot of time with UX, so I could probably beat that drum all night.
Sorry, guys. I have to go because cleaning already start in our office, and yeah, looks like I have to go.
Good
Okay,
stuff.
thank you.
Nice seeing you, Andrew. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I think this might be a good time to call it for the evening. Andres, we're not having one next month because I will be out of the country, but we will pick back up in June. So about ready for summer. So just a quick reminder, we do this every first Wednesday of the month, unless there's a reason not to. I may look into shortening it to an hour, maybe make it a little bit more concentrated, but I do hope you join. And there's the Slack channel. If you're not in it, definitely join it. It's the Pacific Time Virtual Drupal Users Group. We also have a Luma group, and yeah, nice seeing you all.
Likewise.
Good stuff.
See you guys.
Take care.
Nice to see you too.
Thanks for organizing.
Soon.